we are here today with 8 Public Voices on the next episode. Today we've got Salvador Huetos from Lydian Finance to talk to us a bit about the broking side of the world that we live in today. However, before we start, so Sal is going to do his first High Rocks.
I am going to do my first High Rocks, yes,
in the next couple of months. He is a foodie as well, and he firmly believes that Spain may win the World Cup this year. So a couple of points I may agree on, a couple of points I may disagree on. But here we are. But something we can agree on would be that the world is in a quite difficult position right now, and these sort of asset allocation discussions that we are having with clients that we work with in this space. But thank you for joining us today. We'll look forward to having a discussion about this right now.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah. And I met Sal a couple of years ago, a couple of mutual connections, one of which was Andrew Rocks, who has been a mentor of mine. But if you want to share a bit about yourself with our viewers.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, thank you. Thanks again. It's good, always good to chat. I think we had a long chat off camera as well. I'm a partner at Lydian Private Office, which I co-founded with ex-colleague and a friend of mine. We work with ultra high net worth clients, their advisors, family offices to help structure debt and ultimately build wealth. There's 5 of us in the business now. So there's Josh and I who are partners. Mm-hmm. There's a dedicated employee as well who helps us day to day. It allows us to go and meet clients in, interstate in Melbourne, do things like this. Yep. We've got 2 self-employed brokers as well. They're ambitious. They're looking to grow in our business. We'll probably scale more this year as well. So watch this space. Before Lydian, I've spent a couple of years working in different businesses in the broking space. But before that, I spent just shy of 15 years in a major bank. And the majority of that time was in the private bank division. So working with high net worth clients in Australia and overseas to look after their lending, their wealth, and it really shaped how I thought about lending. Not just a product, but more about wealth building and a more of a strategic direction as to where that goes to. And that's really helped my broking career as well. Outside of work, you mentioned I'm a big foodie, so I love to cook, love to try new restaurants, my fiance. I do love racket sports as well. I love health and fitness. I play a lot of tennis. I've been playing tennis since I was 10. Quite a few injuries between 10 and now. Paddle I used to play, I haven't played paddle for a while, but what I do play now, because of a friend of mine, he enrolled us into a pickleball tournament, which is interesting. So we got the bronze last year.
Well, that's great.
And he just enrolled us, and we're now going for the gold.
Yeah, so you nearly became a Nadal in your younger years.
Became a Nadal, and I realised that I couldn't become a Nadal, so I went to pickleball, which is the next best thing.
Paddle.
Yeah, or paddle. Yeah, paddle. Look, I sort of go in phases. So if I can't play tennis, I do paddle. Pickleball's now just because of a few friend of mine's play, so it's more social. Right. Apart from this tournament that we're playing, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've ever played, but you really take it for granted. Some of these people that you play with, you don't expect to be as good as they are. A lot of them are older. They have knee braces, but they can run you off the court, right? So we'll see.
There's a very famous High Rocks quote I keep seeing on Instagram Reels as well, and it says, in front of your friends and family, they all look at you like you're this amazing athlete doing High Rocks and a champion, and there you are coming in number 1,258 on the day, behind a 70-year-old.
Yeah, that's going to be me. That's going to be me. They'll be cleaning up behind me as I finish, like, come on, hurry up.
But it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So High Rocks, I'm just enrolled in July. I'm raising funds for charity, so it makes it more meaningful. I think you are as well. Yep. But for me, it's not really the event itself. It's more about structure, the discipline. Having a routine keeps me focused outside of the business. And I think if you think about High Rocks and business, you think about consistency, preparation, long-term thinking. Setting a goal to finish, but also to finish at a certain time. I think it keeps me sharp. Which is one of the reasons why I'm doing it as well.
What do you see, turning back into business and work a bit, from your experience in St. George and through your different businesses and where you are now, what would be a key takeaway or the key difference in terms of this service offering to your clients between where you are now versus the likes of St. George or the likes of the big banks?
Yeah, okay. So when I was in the bank, I was doing relatively well, I had good clients, good network, but there came a point in time and it slowly got worse and worse where I had less autonomy in the things that I did. Simple things as pricing deposits and home loans and investments, it was you had to get someone else to approve it, and it was very hard because I'd always treated it as my business. So I had a book of clients, I had margins that I had to take care of, and when someone else sort of disagrees with it, when I know that it's best for my business, it was very difficult for me. I was at a crossroad where I was going to get my CFA and do the wealth, or I was going to go lending. I did well in lending, so I thought, why don't I use this experience with high net worths in the lending space, because there's a lot of wealth managers out there, but there's not a lot of high net worth brokers in the market.
Correct.
So I thought, how do I build a business in the high net worth lending space, or or mortgage advice space with my networks and my experience. So I did that with a few businesses. Now, when I was with one bank, you had one policy, one credit, and that's all you know. I think the difficult thing is when leaving a bank to become brokers, because a few bankers that I've known in the past became brokers straight away, is you still know that one, you're in that box, right? You know one policy, one credit.
That's right.
When you're in broking, you need to know more than that. And it takes a while to be upskilled. Either you have someone in the business that knows it and can help you with it, but if you don't know, people, especially if they're high net worth and they've been around for a while, they can see right through it. So I think now, spending 3 years away from the banks in other businesses that I was with in broking and learning broking, and now starting this business, and I've been in this business for about a year and a bit, year and 2 months actually, so it's quite fresh. But I co-founded the business with, as I said, an ex-colleague and a friend of mine. He's a very experienced broker, really good guy, very good with clients, lending like the back of his hand. I use my networks and my experience in the high net worth space to complement that as well. So what we did is, when we had a chat together about a year and a half ago, we said, okay, well, if we start a business, we've got to make sure that if we do it together, it's going to be better and we can do more than if we do it separately, which is what's happened, right? So we had a chat to Lydian, co-founded with Andrew Rocks and Chris Booth. They didn't have a high-end lending division. They had the broking division, which is now 20 brokers, but they didn't have anyone that looked after the top end. So let's say, top 10% of clients where the advisors have, these high net worth clients. So we said, okay, why don't we cater for that? We can bring our own clients, but also help you to activate those planners and the wealth advisors. And by doing that, they should refer the rest to us. And then you sort of create a moat around that. And that's been really good. So I think that's been the best thing for us. We've done a lot more than we thought we could do in the last year. We've, again, going back to your point on the banks, you do high-end resi properties, might do a little bit of commercial, but anything that's too sophisticated or too niche has to go to a different division, right? Whereas now we do commercial, we do development finance, we even do loans without property security. So shares, even cryptocurrency, we've done loans on solar credits, we've done some weird and wonderful things where we don't go to top tier banks, we can go to second tier private lenders. We've even used yourself with your networks and family offices where they can provide their money if it makes sense. So I think that differentiates us from not only the banks but also from our competitors.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point, because that's how I think a lot of clients in that space, what they're really looking for is that personalized relationship and approach, not a cookie cutter approach.
Correct.
And given the world we live in today, where a couple of rate rises, probably a couple more if inflation continues spiraling, and you see all of this negative news around it in the media, how do you see clients in your space reacting to such changes in the environment today? And what's the outlook essentially? How are you seeing them placing their strategy, especially in the property side of the equation?
Yeah, it's a very important point, and it's very topical as well. So it's all over the news, so people always react to it, right? So what happened in Iran and the Gulf states, we reached out to clients straight away. We said, look, we think that inflation is going to shoot up, and I think it's going to be sustained. And this was early March, 2 weeks before the first RBA meeting. And we said, look, let's start talking about fixed rates, right? We talk about rate lock, because in rate lock, you got to do it before end of June, and you got 3 months to do it. So we thought, okay, let's talk to clients that we've helped in the past that were thinking about fixing, or that are in the pipeline that wanted to fix. We talked about rate lock, there's a fee on that, but we've seen a lot of banks now increase their fixed rate since then. And I believe there's going to be a three-peat on rate rises, so February, March and May. I think there'll be another one. So clients in the high net worth space are really active in that space. Well, whether it be a strategy where they want to save on, like a tax strategy where you do it before end of June, fix because of cash flow, get ready to buy something, get an approval in principle in place now, because they think that if rates go up to maybe 3 more times, there's going to be a lot of stress assets going on the market potentially. So they can, if they get the finance in place, they can strike early.
And is there any particular asset class that they're looking at in terms of under the property asset class? So residential, commercial, what areas are they looking at in anticipation?
Good question. It's both, I think.
Both.
We've seen clients that do residential, high-end residential, whether it's upsizing, whether it's buying something that's they think it's a good price. There's been a lot of future seas estates, but we do see commercial as well. So commercial does fit in the puzzles. We've done clients that have their own trading businesses. We've done one for quite a successful medical supplies wholesaler where they're moving into the premise. They've outgrown the current one. We've funded that. It was a good time to do it. We work with a family office now. We've worked with them, one of their clients, for about probably 6 months now. They had a mandate in place to buy $40 million worth of industrial assets, half debt, half cash. And at first we had a conversation, they were looking, and now their interest has there's more interest now in that space now because of what's happening in the market. So I think that will come to fruition quite soon. So to answer your question on asset class, it really depends on the balance sheet. So it's not which was a better asset class, it's which one fits better within their overall balance sheet.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's why we work with yourself and advisors to say, okay, well, what do you think? Where does it fit in their overall picture? And we, the workshop behind the scenes, we go to yourself or the advisor first, then we meet the client together, we have a joint discussion, and then we give them the finance that they need and then go out and find something. We connect them with buyers agents and things like that.
Yeah, and that is very important in terms of having the overall dialogue and overall conversation with all different parties. Which brings me to the next question that I had, which is involving family members and talking about intergenerational wealth transfer. And that's obviously a very, very common topic right now, and we see it in the media and across social media, whether it's print media, social media, that appears a fair bit around the prospect of $1 trillion+ of intergenerational wealth transfer. How do you feel brokers are placed for that process or for that transfer?
It's definitely a big topic right now. We've done a lot of transactions in the last probably 3 months that we've done ever in this regard. So got a family that you can wait and transfer the assets to the estate and pass it on to their children, but now because the prices of property have gone so they've ticked up so quickly and so high, they're now either gifting funds now to their children or assisting them with buying a property. What we've done, I'll give you a few examples. So let's say the parents have $1 million that they want to gift or equity in their home for $1 million or an unencumbered property for $3 million that they want to tap into. They can gift it to the children. That's the easiest thing. But what we tend to see more is they do an inter-party loan with the assistance of their their family lawyer. That's to protect them from future breakdowns in the relationship where they can get access to their asset. They don't want that. So we've seen that. But if you're an advisor, especially in this market where there's been a downturn and they have an SMSF portfolio, just a number 5 million, you may not want them to sell $1 million worth of shares, right? Because you pay, there's a downturn, you pay capital gains, and you forego some of the upside. So if you've got a $5 million portfolio, 5% return, what's that? $250 a year in returns, and they draw down $250 a year to fund the lifestyle, that's pretty flat, right? They can maintain their retirement. Now let's say they sell down $1 million, they've got $4 million left in the SMSF, earn 5%, that's $200,000 a year, but they still fund $250 in their retirement. That's going to deplete over time, and then pick a number, I'm using simplistic numbers here, 15 years, the SMSF is zero, they have to sell assets anyway. So that's not where you want to be. Or they draw down less and they sacrifice a lifestyle, and let's be honest, if you work so hard for so long, you don't want to sacrifice your lifestyle and the nest egg. So what we've done with a few clients, if they've got equity in their home, they've got unencumbered assets, they gift, let's say, $400,000 to their kid. Let's say the kid is working, say they're 2021, they can only afford $400,000 worth of debt. They want to buy an $800,000 property. They go to the bank, $400,000, their parents fund the difference, call it $450 with costs. So you've got loan one, $400, parents loan, $450, they've got an inter-party loan in the background. In year 2, they get a promotion, they get a pay increase, they now earn $150, they increase the loan to $600, the $200,000 difference, they pay back the parents' loan, they pay down the inter-party loan. And what you see in, say, 3, 4, 5 years is the child has loan against the property and the parents have no loan anymore and they're free. Right? And they haven't sold anything. They haven't sold any shares, they haven't foregone any upside, and we're seeing a lot of that at the moment now as well. But the other thing that we've seen, and I think it's important to talk about, is a hidden cost of which is stamp duty as well. Because if you look at wealth as a family, so family wealth in a whole, they want to buy $1 million property, so stamp duty on $1 million property is $39,000, but they want to buy a $1.6 million property. So what they'll do is they buy a $1 million property now, and then in 3-4 years they'll upsize to the $1.6 million property. So you buy $39,000 now, in 3 years you sell that, no capital gains, because it's owner occupied, and then you buy the 1.6, but the $1.6 million property now attracts $70,000 worth of stamp duty. So you pay stamp duty twice. So what you find is $70,000, $39,000, so that's a $31,000 difference in family wealth. It takes a hit. So we've seen people say, okay, well, let's buy the $1.6 million property now instead of paying double stamp duty, because that affects overall family wealth. We had a lot of conversations now, and it's very topical.
That is a very interesting point. I must admit, that's one thing I've not really thought about, is the double and possibly triple stamp duty if you go through that process quite a bit. And it does eat up into the overall balance sheet of the family in the long term. Pretty much then the forward planning is very important and crucial in going, where are we actually getting to in the next 5-10 years as an individual or a family effectively, and looking at the whole picture rather than just a quick transaction right now.
Correct.
The other question I had is around, obviously you do work a lot with expat people in different parts of the world, and given the current situation that we we are seeing in the world unfolding, Australia is often viewed as the safe haven, largely because of location, but also because we've got the political stability that most parts of the world don't enjoy. It's one of the things which I always admire about the Australian democracy, that you can have a change of power so efficiently and so simple that it makes absolutely no difference to the people on the streets.
Yep.
Whereas you go to a lot of parts of the world, it's always a struggle to have a change in power between two successive governments. And it's a very different thing over here. And then you got a stable economy, a stable social setting. So on my line of work, we do see a lot of asset transfers coming into Australia due to the stability factor of the country. And I'm sure you see that in your space as well. And how are you playing in that field? How are you positioning yourself in it? How do you structure deals with clients who are looking at moving assets into the country or looking at exploring options behind it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for your clients without property assets, I think is more important. But with our clients with property assets, I think in general, as you said, I think Australia is quite a stable jurisdiction for all the world. And as interest rates have gone up, the Australian dollar has rallied, so more investments coming to the country. Some of our clients do have diversified offshore assets that we can look at. They've got multi-currency income streams that also that we can also look at depending on the lender as well. So that's also important. So bringing assets from overseas to Australia, whether they sell or not, I think it's more a topic on clients that think they need to sell overseas to fund something here where they're already with a bank and the bank caps them out at say $3 million. Whereas we can look at other solutions, whether it's a bank, private bank, third-party bank, private lender, family office, where that $3 million is actually like $5-6 million. Okay, well, I can get the funding here and you can keep the asset overseas. So we're seeing, I think that's what we're seeing more of now in my space with property. But I think and that's why our partnerships with private banks and international credit operators are very important in our space, and we do have that as well.
I think one of my questions or issues that I have sometimes in this space is often, I've got a fair few clients over here who look at buying places overseas and the big four banks never come to party on that. In such situations, how do we navigate that for a solution? How do we find a solution there?
You're right. So the only way you could do that is if they have equity or property in Australia they can use to fund overseas. Now, if you use equity in some banks, they don't like the purpose. It's all about purpose as well, the security and purpose. The purpose to buy offshore assets. It's always a bit of a grey area. So a lot of private banks are okay, they're more flexible because a lot of the clients are high net worth and they've got offshore assets, so they understand that. Servicing is done differently, but that's why with us, we get everything on the table. So the client and the advisor would tell us everything. So tell us everything and we only tell the bank what we need to tell. That's obviously within reason. Whether the purpose is for offshore assets, we always tell the truth. Or we go to another bank that's more flexible, like a third tier bank, potentially. Or an offshore bank that's in Australia. It's very difficult to fund something overseas without having security in Australia, in our country. We do have a partnership in the UK with Capricorn Financial, so we cross-refer clients to them. They're one of the biggest broking houses in the UK. So we do a lot of work with them where they refer clients to us, whether it's expats repatriating to Australia, vice versa, or they have Australians overseas they want to buy in Australia. So we have a client that is Australian, but they have no property here and they want to buy over there. We use them to help us and they use their banks to help us, right? So it's just a referral opportunity. And I think overall, the client will become more sticky, right? Even though we're not doing the transaction and we're not getting the commissions on the deal, we know that relationship is more important that in the long run, because they'll refer more clients to us. The wealth advisor refers a client to us, is happy, so then it unlocks more opportunities. So we've got to think holistically and long term in these relationships, and that's what we do. We're not transactional based, we're more strategy based. We think of a client overall as a 5-year plus client, not as a one-year client. That's why we like to work with advisors, accountants, family offices, because they're the same. They work on a long-term basis, and that's what ultimately we work as well.
Absolutely. Taking another turn, and given the world we live in again, and every single day there's a disruption in terms of AI that flows through across the financial services sector. Not much that we have seen across the broking sector the advice sector, the wealth management sector has been affected quite a bit. How do you see AI coming into the space of broking, and how are you navigating that? How are you preparing for it?
Very topical, definitely in our business. I think in terms of disrupting the broker market, we haven't seen that as much, right? But in terms of AI that can be used in the broker space, there's a lot. So in our business particularly, we use, now I'm going to use the wrong terminology, it's AI bot and AI agent. It's one of those things where a client would dump things into a portal for us. It doesn't have to be named, it can just be ID or PDS documents, whatever it is, into a safe portal. It's private, it's secure, and then the agent would then scribe everything, skim it, scribe it in, and put it into our CRM, and put into our fact find. And I've seen it live, and it takes minutes. right?
Yeah.
Sometimes seconds. And it's crazy because we have an offshore team as well that used to do that. And per client, it may take up to an hour, right? And now it takes 30 seconds to a minute for them to check that it's all there. It's great because it doesn't make them redundant, but it allows them to refocus their time on tasks that are more efficient, like building strategies for us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I think their low complexity admin tasks are being disrupted, but those people that we use can then upskill themselves in other tasks to do other things, which is important for us. There's an AI tool in LinkedIn or social media posts that can skim your top performing posts. You can take the engagements and then repurpose those posts. I haven't used those, but they do exist.
Yeah.
I don't use those, but I think when you look through your transaction statements and you see all the streaming debits that you get for Netflix and everything else.
Don't remind me of that. I need to cancel a lot of it.
And you're I didn't know I paid for that. And it's like hundreds of dollars. I'm probably the same with AI things. And I've got to revisit those as well. But that's a lot of them I don't use. There's just so many out there. There's wild AI tools. So what I did, I think it was last week before, I called a restaurant. I think it was outside operating hours. And someone picked up and it was an AI agent. And she said, I'm an AI. I'm already humanizing it's her.
Yeah.
It said it was an AI agent and it was very, very fluid. And it was pretty scary. It booked something for me over the phone because I couldn't do it online. It just felt like a natural conversation. I know you might have seen there's a business out there, I can't remember the name of the business, but it uses AI where it uses, cow collars. It's backed by Peter Thiel, one of the PayPal founders in the PayPal, the PayPal mafia. It's now like a double unicorn status. It's worth $2 billion now. There's so many wild things out there. And I digress. We're not talking about finance, but I think there's a law of accelerating returns where technology becomes so good that it accelerates the next technology, and that's why AI has come. It's gone exponentially to the top, and I think it can be quite scary. And going back to the broker space, I think that the low complexity deals like PYG deals, 70% LVRs, I think those will be quite easily done by AI. And CBA has just gone through a thing where they've had a lot of fraud with broker deals, with payslips, fraudulent payslips, right? And whether they're doing that also to try and get more business, it's questionable potentially. But I think those low-end PYG, easy deals, direct to bank will be done by AI, and it's very easy to implement. But for us, where we deal with a niche which is high net worth, where it's all about relationships, building long-term growth with clients and trust. I think having an IA build trust with a client, we're a long way away from that. Touch wood. I think we're safe in that regard.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that point because there's only so much AI is going to take you and can do. At the end of the day, most investors, clients, families would still want to sit in front of you, eyeball you and go,
yes,
you are the trusted person over here. You are going to be using AI and that's fine, but I'm still going to come to you for the final answer.
That's right.
And you still have to tell me the advice.
That's it.
And it is that long-standing partnership and that long-standing trust and relationship that you have to build. And it comes slowly over time. And it's in that trust that they place in you and they're allowing you to use whatever tool that you need to use to provide them with that level of confidence support. And that's why I feel AI should come in.
Agree.
But it doesn't take away the role of the advisor or the associates and the support team behind it as well. And that ecosystem is still very important.
Yeah, I think a lot of clients would use AI themselves anyway. So I don't think they'll be against using AI because it makes things quicker as well. But talking to an AI, I think we're a long way from that. I hope we're a long way from that.
The reason why I was laughing is because I think I've seen a lot in papers recently of the big companies and government agencies using AI to do documents.
Yes, documents.
I think it's everywhere.
Look, I don't know. We might be here in a year and then we might be on a beach somewhere.
That would be ideal.
Who knows?
I would love to be doing that.
I'd love to be doing that, one day.
In Argentina.
No comment.
In a crowded market space, you got all these broking houses, the big banks, and trying to break through all the noise around it. What would be a key stand-up point for Lydian and for you?
For Lydian Private Office itself, I think that there's two factors, really. Number one is pretty straightforward. It's being experienced in broking and also experience in high net worth space. So that's where Josh and I complement each other quite well. Good at broking, good at high net worth, good at having our networks already. There's a bit of a network effect as well. So I mentioned that we got 5 people in the business. We weren't going to hire until year 2. We hired in year 1. And we didn't actively market for those staff. So they found us. And I think that's a testament to our business because they want to work with us where I believe we were respecting our business business. Point number 2 would be having a business where we want to work with people that we want to work with, good humans, and being able to say no to partners and clients and even people that we don't want to work with.
Yep.
And we have the luxury. I think that would set us apart as well. There's a lot of brokers out there. I don't know the number. There's a lot of numbers that get thrown around, 17,000, 20,000.
Okay.
So I think in order to scale, you need to have experience, you need to have good staff, you need to have good networks, and you need to be open to change, use AI, and then we're very open to that. For us, we've got, as I said, a dedicated employee in our business and 2 brokers. So if we go to a new partner and we say, okay, Josh and I are doing the high net worth space where it takes a lot of time for us to workshop and get the deal done, we can look after the whole offering. You might have 10% of high net worth clients, but then 90% of your firm is retail clients. So we can fit that gap because we've got an employee in-house and we've got 2 brokers that can help you with that. So we, as I said, build a moat around that business and they will deal with us and only us.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Having access to do that, having the right networks and being in an ecosystem like Lydian as a whole is very important. And having, Chris Booth, who's been an experienced broker in the past, and Andrew Rocks, who, sold multiple businesses in the planning space and is, in the back office space of the planning world is a big help. And it's good for us, good for them that we work together. So it's, and that's why we use the word Lydian, because we could have been just Josh and Sal private, but it just didn't make sense. So we leverage off each other, and I think it's been a good relationship. It's been a year, but it's we've done things that we didn't think we would do in a year, such a short amount of time.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's very impressive. And I must say, I'm very impressed with what you have built so far. And I'm looking forward to see how it unfolds and how it grows over the next couple of years ahead. That's all we have for today. So thank you for making your time to come here for the episode. What we have covered really is around the niche areas that are within the broking space, looking at what clients are seeking in that space. And that's really coming down towards the trust and the relationship. There could be AI disruption, there could be a geopolitical disruption, there could be inflation disruption, there could be interest rate disruption. But really at the end of the day, the end client, through their advisor or through their contacts, referrals, whatever it is, will be sitting in front of you and going, I need your advice on how do I navigate this system? How do I navigate these different asset classes and different political situations, interest rate situations and the likes of it. Yeah. And so I think you've built something really incredible by doing that. And I think from what I'm seeing from the outside and from our conversation today, I believe that, Lydian and yourself is in a good position to capture or be a leader in the market space effectively. So thank you for that.
I think also to add to that, I think working with advisors that are open to lending is great, and I think it's very important because we want to have a lending strategy that sits alongside the wealth strategy, not compete with it. And that's why we work as a deal team with the client. So the client sits in the middle, then you've got the relationship with, let's say, yourself, and then we come in and just do our piece, and then you've got an accountant, you might have someone else, and the client becomes sticky.
Correct.
And is a long-term client, and that's ultimately what we want to do.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for coming along for today.
Good.
It was good having you on board, and we look forward to working with you further.
Likewise.
And we'll go for a run.
Let's go.
Go for a run, get our high rocks done, and have a nice Spanish meal and watch football.
Let's do it. Thanks, Karam.
Thank you.